Hello everyone and welcome to 5 days in Seoul, Korea. This is my very first time ever traveling there, and I traveled there back in April of 2023 for 5 days solo. And my goal with traveling there was to really experience all the food that Seoul has to offer, visit some of the top locations, and I learned so much during this travel experience. And this video you're about to watch is more of kind of just like a laid back kind of just how my day went. I tried a lot of different amazing food, and let me tell you right now, it is some of the best food I've ever had, and I'm gonna highly recommend. On day one, I got to travel and meet a local who does food tours in Seoul. The transportation system is amazing, but it might be hard, especially for those who don't travel internationally a lot, to kind of understand and get used to. Also in Seoul, they do not have Google Maps. It's not the easiest place for people who are normally used to, traveling in the US. There's a couple great apps, I'm gonna put them up right here, that I use when I traveled Seoul that operate somewhat like a Google Maps. But I'll tell you right now that the great thing about Seoul, it is very safe. There's no homeless, there's no drugs. One of the really interesting things that I learned a little bit too late is, as a solo traveler, it's a little bit different, because in their culture they generally don't eat alone. A lot of things are done in pairs and groups. It's a lot of community stuff there. One or two times I actually got turned away from eating at a restaurant because they don't want just solo people eating there. It's not like that everywhere. I feel like it's kind of rare, but it is a thing. So if you are a solo traveler, I will recommend this, and that is the very first day to get a tour guide, a local tour guide or food tour guide like I did, which you're about to watch. But this is my solo travel experience in Seoul, and I'm definitely gonna go back. I even have a Korean Air credit card now because I plan to go back a lot more in the near future and bring my beautiful wife Gabby there. This was a solo trip and this was my experience. Towards later in the end of the video, I meet up with a bunch of other travelers through couch surfing, which I recommend if you're a solo traveler. We did group meetup, we did karaoke night, we did a lot of cool fun stuff. So let's get to day one. It's like a machine to cook ramen?
Yes, we will do it later when chicken is arriving.
Okay, that's sick.
This one is a little bit famous
Really?
among Koreans, so I think you can try this one.
Okay,
If you wanna hop on the
do that.
trend in Korea.
Yeah, I will.
You have to unpack it.
Because this is what people doing. Everyone, meet Jin. This guy totally saved my trip, and I highly recommend booking a tour with him.
Yeah, they typically do this around Han River when they're doing picnic. People did it a lot, so they invented the machine for this. And
That's cool.
they didn't even have this bowl. They had this like a foil box, but now they have this. Super convenient.
Yeah, it's such a fancy to-go box. Oh wow. Let's do it. Dude, that is so good. No, that's Korean fried chicken. That's legit. Oh my god, it's so good.
You have to add some jalapeno on top and eat it together.
Dude, I'm gonna eat this whole box.
Alright, so there's an important thing when you're eating Korean ramen. You have to kind of slurp a little bit. I know it's not a culture in America.
Yeah. Okay.
We allow slurping when we are eating
Okay.
ramen. And it makes it more delicious, to be honest. But yeah, you gotta be careful a little bit when you're wearing white pants.
So happy I can slurp here. I do it in my cereal too. This chicken is so good though.
So when you do this specific chicken, you have to do the boneless chicken. Always boneless.
Dude, that's so good. That's better than any chicken I've ever had in Hawaii, the US, anywhere. That's crazy. Dude, I wish we had this in Hawaii. This is amazing. You're starting off very strong, man, on this food thing. It's so good.
what I typically do, this is mostly very typical Korean traditional food. Rice wine, you have to mix it because there are some at the bottom. So you just have to mix it. And we like to use this bowl, kind of wide bowl to drink rice wine. It's called makgeolli. 감사합니다. 감사합니다.
뭐라도 맛있게 드세요.
감사합니다. Pork is really tender here. A little bit of kimchi and pork together. It's hot. And then put it there, and then kimchi a little bit. Yeah. And then some pork together. Yeah.
That's interesting.
It's a little sweet.
Yeah, it's not what I expected. It's really good. A little hot.
Yeah.
Meerkat friends, along with Thanks Nature Cafe, which you're about to see, these are all animal cafes. They're everywhere around Seoul. And I bet when you did your research, you probably saw a lot of people suggesting these animal cafes, along when you look at social media posts, especially like this Meerkat Cafe. It was probably the best bang for your buck if you want to see a variety of animals. And it's definitely worth doing. But what I loved about Thanks Nature Cafe, it wasn't just focused on the animals. They also had food that was very reasonably priced and really tasty as well. I had this waffle that was like a chocolate. It was a sweet waffle with ice cream and banana and caramel sauce, which was great. And the sheep themselves were super cute. And if you're with your family, friends, whoever, even though I was solo traveling, definitely worth the stop. And what really blows my mind about these animal cafes is just how regular it is there. There's a ton of them. And we definitely have them here in the US, but not with the sheep this cute. Okay, our next spot is a place I just had to try and a dish that's so popular in Seoul, and that is bingsu. If you don't know what that is, it's basically like a shaved ice but with condensed milk with like traditional toppings. I went for the more fruity one, which was strawberry bingsu. And like I spoke about earlier, traveling via the subway, the public transportation is really easy to use as long as you know how to use it. And that's why I recommend, booking a local tour guide the first day. That's a true local that will take you around the way that the locals do it. Now, this is a really cool place I was excited to travel to, and that's Insadong. It's like basically kind of a cultural heart of Seoul. It's perfect for those who are looking for more of like a traditional kind of feel for an area and like a modern area all into one. There's a lot of cool like antique shops, art galleries, traditional tea houses, and they even have like this place called the Dong Cafe. Everything is pooped themed, which was hilarious, and you're gonna see a lot of this in Seoul itself. I love their take on trying to create new trends, and like who goes to a place and a cafe and everything is poop themed, from the food to the chairs to the decor. Since spending my time with Jin and trying literally the best Korean fried chicken I've had in my entire life, and it makes sense why Korea would have the best Korean fried chicken I've ever had. He also gave me a suggestion about a very popular spot, and it's called Kyochon 1991. There's a bunch of these around the city, and sorry if I pronounced the name wrong, but the chicken there, I had the spicy, and then I had like the normal type of Korean fried chicken, and this one, if not, was just as good as the first spot that Jin introduced me to. Now this spot, Myeodong Shopping Street, I'm sorry if I said that incorrectly again. I don't mean to offend anybody. But this is one of the most popular street food markets in Seoul, and they had basically every single kind of street food you can imagine. So if you want to try any of the popular Korean street foods, definitely check out this area itself. It is packed with street vendors, and all the food is very reasonably priced. It is geared towards like tourists as well, so keep that in mind. You can probably get a lot of this food in other areas cheaper, but it is very reasonably priced, especially if you're trying to knock out trying a bunch of different kind of food. This next spot, unfortunately my SD card corrupted, so I only have the iPhone footage from it itself. But this is a very famous spot that was featured on Netflix's street food series. It is famous for its delicious knife cut noodles. I've never had noodles like this in my entire life, and I can't even explain how good it is. You just gotta try it. Now this next dish that I tried, and this was the Korean coin bread, and this bread was incredible. It was nice and hot. This version, while they do have a sweet version, I actually had more of a savory one, which was cheese filled. I highly recommend trying the Korean coin bread. Going into the last full day in Seoul, on day 4, I wanted to go visit all like the historical, touristy sites that one must visit when you go to a place. So I'm gonna attempt to pronounce his name, Gyeongbokgung Palace. I'm sorry, and I hope I don't offend anybody if I pronounce that wrongly. But this is one of the largest and most significant of the 5 grand palaces built during the Joseon dynasty. It was constructed in 1395 and served as the royal residence and center of the Korean government. Hall and the serene pavilion that they have there, despite historical damage, extensive restoration has returned much of its former glory. I truly love this place, the mountains behind it, how big it actually was, and how long it took to walk around there. So the palace, what's really cool about this place is that they're known for having the changing of the guards ceremony, which is like a popular cultural performance held multiple times daily. Usually it's at 10 a.m., 1 p.m., 3 p.m. And I definitely recommend trying to visit the palace during one of these times for this ceremony, especially if you're interested in the culture. Now this next spot is the Bukhan Hanok village. Sorry again if I pronounce anything wrong, but it is like one of these places you're going to see a lot of photos, people, taking these photos with the traditional Korean houses, which were called hanoks. It's definitely a must visit spot, and it is very peaceful. There's a lot of tea shops nearby with amazing views. It's definitely worth the trek up there. It's very close to the palace as well, so you can definitely bang out visiting the palace and then visiting the Hanok village within one visit. Our next stop is the Boo House, or Cheongwon-dae. And it isn't just a presidential residence, it's the heart of South Korea's heritage, set against Mount Bunrak. A visit here offers a glimpse into the soul of Korea. So last but definitely not least, I needed to go check out Namsan Tower, also known as the Seoul Tower. You don't want to also miss like the Locks of Love area, where next time I definitely plan to bring Gabby with me. I unfortunately didn't have the patience to wait in like the 1 to 2 hour line that was there that day to go to the top of the tower, which I definitely plan to go back and do that. But the views, the panoramic views of Seoul is just unbelievable. I will say this was the absolute best way to end my trip. It was the best view that I had of the beautiful city of Seoul, and I couldn't be more grateful for this opportunity to travel here. So if you want to book a travel experience with Jin himself, I'm going to have a link to his tours in the description of this video. You can book on Airbnb, which is awesome. And I'll also have a link to his Instagram and ways to contact him, because he totally helped me out and set me up for success on this trip to Seoul.